The opening of the fourth movie Ghost Protocol is the scene where IMF agent Trevor Hannaway is on the run after obtaining the Russian nuclear bomb activation code. After escaping, he was killed by a female assassin who would sell the code to a stranger named Cobalt. In the Russian prison, Ethan is being held in order to extract Bogdan, who is believed to have information about Cobalt, and with assistance from newly promoted Agent Benji Dunn and Hannaway's girlfriend, Agent Jane Carter. The two have successfully escaped. Then Ethan knew that Hannaway had died in the line of duty. Ethan recognizes the culprit as Sabine Moreau, an assassin who only accepts payment in diamonds. Ethan continued to receive the task of breaking into the Kremlin to get information about Cobalt, who wants to activate nuclear weapons. Ethan had to disguise himself as General Fedorov to break in. Ethan and Benji quickly coordinated to break in. Benji was still quite inexperienced. Fortunately, Ethan had timely support. The two entered the filing room. However, Ethan could not find any information about Cobalt because he came here and took all the documents. Suddenly he hears Cobalt talking with his accomplices about detonating bombs to create a fake scene. This causes Ethan to abort the mission and leave. Unfortunately, he didn't get out in time and lost consciousness after the explosion. Waking up in the hospital, he is arrested by Russian agent Anatoly Sidorov. Ethan quickly finds a way to escape. Cobalt, after successfully destroying the documents, came to Leonid Lysenko, a Polish cryptography expert. He will help Cobalt determine if the nuclear cryptography is indeed genuine. Ethan met Secretary and knew that he had to submit his resignation after the explosion in the Kremlin. He also introduced Ethan to an analyst named William Brandt. With Ethan's description, Brandt guessed that the person was Kurt Hendricks of the Swedish Special Forces. Ethan immediately realized it was Cobalt and he intended to incite the nuclear war between US and Russia. Therefore, the US president initiated Ghost Protocol and the IMF organization was disavowed. The secretary was assassinated along with the driver and forced Ethan and Brandt to hide under the water. Fortunately, both were able to escape the hunt of Anatoly Sidorov. The two quickly find Carriage 47 so they can escape, and fortunately they reunite with Benji and Jane. The group received information that Cobalt and Sabine would meet at a hotel in Dubai to exchange nuclear codes. Wistrom, who is Cobalt's spy, will meet directly to Sabine in hotel. So the group devised a plan to swap positions to interfere. When they got there, they were forced to change the plan because the security of this building was too high, so they had to break in from the outside. Specifically, they had to climb to the 130th floor, which forced Ethan to use Benji's super sticky but slightly shaky gloves to climb because everyone had no other choice, and it is a hair-raising scene from Tom Cruise in the movie. Ethan quickly climbs up to the 130th floor and successfully breaks into the server. However, Sabine arrives earlier than expected and forces the team to make hasty preparations in which Ethan and Brandt will pose as the recipients of the code, and Jane will pretending to be Sabine to exchange with Wistrom and Leonid, a Polish-born cryptographer who determine if the code was real or not. Thus, the group's plan became even more difficult when they were forced to give Wistrom an identical copy of the code. This was opposed by Brandt, who thought that it dangerous when Cobalt had the nuclear code. Ethan quickly reassured Brandt and the group followed the adjusted plan. However, Brandt was discovered by Sabine herself that there was a problem with his contact lenses. A fistfight took place. Sabine ran away after receiving the diamonds. Wistrom also received the code and left, and he killed Leonid. Both Ethan and Brandt had to fight, at which time Ethan realized that Brandt was not simply an analyst because of his fighting. Brandt then chased Leonid and found him was killed. Suddenly heard gunfire inside. Brandt returned to find Jane and Sabine fighting. Jane kicked Sabine straight down and finished her off to revenge for Hannaway. Back to Ethan, he was caught by Anatoly. Ethan was forced to manage to escape and continue chasing Wistrom. However, he failed, only to find out that this was Cobalt wearing a Wistrom mask. Complete failure, the group angrily blamed each other. Ethan questioned Brandt about his true identity, but Brandt did not reveal his secret. Ethan receives a message from Bogdan to make an appointment with a weapons dealer as promised. At this time, Brant tells Jane and Benji about the reason he withdrew from the battlefield. Because he felt guilty for not completing his mission to protect a married couple. This was a secret mission, so he and his men I have to follow up. The husband went out to exercise, so Brant had to follow him to protect. When he returned, the wife was missing, reported dead, and the couple was Ethan and Julia. Ethan tries to convince the arms dealer that he gives Ethan information about the satellite in Mumbai, India, and by disables it and the nuclear warhead becomes useless. And to disable the satellite, Ethan needs his teammates to do it. Temporarily putting aside the friction, they immediately flew to Mumbai to approach a boss named Brij Nath. The group has divided the tasks, in which Benji is still the same, sitting at the computer and giving instructions. Brant infiltrates into the computer room, which is more than 100 degrees, to access the satellite system. Jane seduces the boss to extract the code and Ethan observes from afar. However, Ethan's group is not alone when Agent Anthony has come here, too. After that, Ethan received information that Cobalt was nearby and was about to detonate a nuclear bomb. So Ethan and Jane immediately had to stop Cobalt. However, he promptly cut off the power, causing Benji and Brant to continue handling. Ethan quickly chased Cobalt to retrieve the suitcase. The two struggled and Cobalt ended up killing himself. Fortunately, Ethan was able to jump down in time and reach for the power button to disable the nuclear warhead. But that didn't work because Wistrom had cut off the power. Until Brant and Benji finished handling, it cannot be disabled. When Brant turned on the power, and Benji fixed the connection device, Ethan disabled the nuclear warhead and collapsed. At this time, Anatoly's agent came and understood the true purpose of Ethan's group, since then leave him free. So the whole group of Ethan has officially completed the mission and restored the honor to the IMF. Brant has also learned that Ethan's wife is still alive, it's just that Ethan let Julia go to avoid danger to her. That's why Brant regained his confidence and returned to the mission. At the end of the movie, Ethan and Julia see each other and both seem to be very happy with where they are right now. Then Ethan gets his next mission.